Welcome to all of you once again. This is part 2 of Sounds in English, or rather, learning how English sounds. Let's listen to or understand how do we make out vowel sounds, and then also discuss certain common errors Indians tend to make while pronouncing English sounds. This gives you a list of vowel sounds in English. 20 of them, 12 of them which are known as monophthongs, that is single sound, and 8 of them known as diphthongs, as it's a combination sound. It's a combination of two different vowel sounds, which is of course just a single sound, and hence they are known as diphthongs. A, I, u, e, o, a, and o. Most of the sounds, as you noticed, initial sounds are all familiar to us in our Indian languages too. We know about a, I, u, e, and so on. But where you need to really concentrate and pay more attention to our a sound, which looks like half a and half, not half, but it's a combination or coming together of, inverted e and straight e. That's the sound, yeah. We do not have these in our Indian languages, and we find it strange to articulate it. But lots of English words which have this sound. We've come to that in the later slides. Similarly, you have another sound, not a, but a. This can, again, let's discuss this a little later. The other sound is like in bird, girl, world. Usually you have this combination of a vowel in spelling with the letter R in spelling, which brings up this particular sound to be articulated. If you look at girl in spelling, G-I-R-L, I and R together, there is no R in pronunciation. It's just the girl, girl. Similarly, when you say world, there is O and R coming together in that word in spelling. In pronunciation, it gives you world. And then you say L and D. You don't pronounce R at all. You're not saying world. You're not saying girl, for instance. Let's move on now to look at a few examples using vowel sounds. Look at this charming young lady out there when she's pronouncing these vowel sounds. That's one happy picture, isn't it? Yeah. That's how we're going to look when we get these sounds right. Remember, whenever you see that colon, like those two dots, one on top of the other, next to any of these symbols, that suggests length. That is, you're going to have longer period of leaving out air. They're known as the long vowels, and the others without it are known as the short vowels. Look at this distinction between E and E, or rather E and E. Just bring your tongue very close to the top of your mouth, spread your lips, and it looks as if you're smiling. And there you go, you get these sounds right. Steve keeps the cheese in the freezer. Steve obviously has the E, keeps, again the E, cheese, again the long one, and freezer, again the long sound. Right? If you want to get the short vowel sound place the tongue lower in your mouth. You can see the picture of the mouth, and you know how you're getting these two sounds, E and E. Rima eats pizza and chips. Pizza has a long sound and chips has a shorter E. For dinner, dinner again has the short E. This is a comparison of these two sounds and examples. A again. It's pretty simple. Open your mouth wide and place the back of the tongue down. It's best to rest, said the vet to the pet. The vet is a veterinarian, veterinary doctor. He's talking to the pet. A few examples on A sound. Here you have these couple of sounds which are generally a little difficult for an Indian learner or user of English. O, and the next one, A. You can see her saying O. She's opened her mouth wide, and it's almost like you go to a doctor and doctor says, just open your mouth and say O. That's when you'd get the O as in hot. The hot pot was left on top. Got it? Yes. If we have to get the A sound, open your mouth wide slightly. Ensure that the back of the tongue is down and the lower jaw is lowered. Ah. In fact, you can see that your lower jaw moves towards your left slightly when you get the sound. The fat cat sat on the man's black hat. Did you say that? All right. A few more examples for getting these sounds right. A and O. You have a long vowel, oo. Round your lips together and bring them forward. Bring the back of the tongue up and also move your lower jaw up. Sunil plays cool tunes on the Casio. Cool tunes. You can make out the oo. If you have to get the short vowel sound oo, relax your lips a little, bring the back of the tongue up and move your lower jaw up. The cook couldn't cook if he didn't look at a cookbook. Well, what a professional. Anyway, look at these pictures. Look at this lady trying to say ooh, and you can make out how her lips are rounded and her lower jaw is moved forward. How round her lips look. And that's when she was going to get ooh right. But when she's saying ooh, the shorter one, her lips are going to look more relaxed. Did you do that? Yes, that's it. Here are the examples to get these short vowels and the long vowels right. This is A. It looks like an inverted V. Relax the lips and the lower jaw and place the tongue down. My mother's brother's my uncle's son's my cousin. Mother, the first vowel sound. Brother, again the first vowel sound. Uncle, the first vowel sound. Son, the vowel sound in there. And cousin, k. All these are the sound we're talking about. Examples for the sound. Here we are, friends, now with a very, very interesting vowel sound. It's an inverted E, as you see it. It's known as a schwa. It's like really a short vowel which is made in the center of the mouth. You can look at the picture out there, which is showing you how your lips, the upper jaw and the lower jaw are positioned. You have your mouth quite open and wide, and right in the center you can see this vowel being produced. And let me just share with you, this is the most commonly occurring vowel sound in most of the words where you don't stress the part. You would come across these when you talk about word stress and understand it much better. Just remember, relax your tongue and lips while you're saying oh. You're actually moving your tongue as well as your lower jaw slightly towards the left again, and you seem to get this, like in yeah or ah. All right? Try and say the sentence along with me. I ate an apple and a banana in a cinema in Calicut. Where do we have the sound? Apple, ah, that's the other sound, but the second syllable has oo. There you have banana. In front of it, a banana. That's the sound. Banana. Banana. No. There you have. And here you are. A few more words where you get this particular sound occurring. Listen to them and repeat. Well, friends, this brings us to the combination of two vowel sounds, that is, diphthongs. Let's take a look at some of these. A. It's a combination of A and E. A. Open your mouth wide. Move the front of the tongue up and the lower jaw upwards. I like it, when it rains. There you have. Do not mistake that like has this sound. It has a different diphthong. Rain has this diphthong. And let's listen to some of these examples and repeat. Now here you are. I. Like when you're telling somebody, I am so-and-so. I. It's a diphthong. Open your mouth wide again. Curl the front of your tongue and move it upwards. And move your lower jaw up. I lie on my right. I, then lie, again, right. All these words have this sound out there. You have another interesting diphthong, oi, like in toy. Look at the example sentence out there. Say it after me. Boys enjoy noisy toys. You have those example words out there which have this particular sound. O. Start with your mouth relaxed. Move lips to round shape. Move the back of tongue up. Move the lower jaw up a little. Rama knows John found Sonal. Where do we have this? Knows, phones, Sonal. All these words have that O as in snow. Look at those examples given out there. This is the ow as in how. Let's listen to this example sentence. Say it along with me. Vani counted cows coming down the mountain. Counted cows coming doesn't have the word, sound. Down mountain. Got it? Look at all those examples out there. Now, air. Take care that all the squares are together. Care. It's not care. Care. Square, not square. That's how you would bring in diphthongs into English and make you sound English. The popular joke we always share is, let's speak English and not Tinglish or Hinglish. That is, if a Telugu were to speak English and you bring in your Telugu accent into it, it's Tinglish and not English. Similarly, when it's a Hindi speaker using English or speaking English but bringing in some Hindi sounds, it's Hinglish and it's not going to be English. So I'm sure all of us are seriously thinking about speaking English and not Tinglish or Hinglish. This brings me up to the common errors which we tend to make. And let's take a look at some of these and learn to avoid these and learn to speak English and not, as I mentioned, repeat, Tinglish or Hinglish. Well, friends, here we have a few interesting examples. I'm sure you heard people say this. Let me just repeat them and you can come along with me. Well, if you hear someone saying train, what they mean is train. It's like I'm reminded of my class a few years ago when I had one of my teachers, with great respect to my teacher, saying, "Hey, we're talking about Shakespeare today." And he started talking to us about Shakespeare's Omelette. And some of us had a major problem understanding him. We said, "What is he talking about? We heard that Shakespeare's written a lot of plays, and there are lots of popular plays, but omelette? We never knew that Shakespeare had anything to do with omelettes." And it took us quite some time to understand what he meant was Hamlet. Well, I'm sure now you can understand why it's important for us to get the sounds right so that you don't confuse anybody, nor do you get confused. Similarly, you're trying to tell someone that you're going to the tailor, but then you say Tyler. You don't know whether you're mentioning someone's name or whether you're actually mentioning someone's profession. Similarly, you're describing or you're saying you're unable to go somewhere because of the rain, but you say Reine or Reinu. They would get confused whether you're referring to somebody or something. Similarly, as I mentioned earlier, water can sound as water. See, one is it can confuse the other people. The other danger, my dear friends, is given all your professional degrees, given your education, when you pronounce sounds in that way, it actually makes you sound as uneducated and illiterate people, and the respect which you're going to command from the others doesn't seem to come through. So it's really important for you to pronounce the sounds of a given language correctly so that they would respect you when they hear you. First is they would understand what you're trying to convey. Secondly, they would really respect you for what your learning is. Another example out here is which. It can be mispronounced as which. You have a few more examples out here. Way instead of way. Or people would say yellow, where the y sound could be missing, and you say hello, 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 dirty fellow kind of stuff, which you must have heard many times. Well, a word like little can be mispronounced as little, little, or whatever. I'm sure you'd have more examples to come up there. A word which all of us love to say can be mispronounced as love. Similarly, you can have 5. You're referring to a number, 5, but you go ahead and say 5. You can make out the difference, right? Operation, for instance, can be mispronounced as operation. 12 can be mispronounced as 12, and so on. Let us now take a look at what actually creates these incorrect forms coming in? Let's look at some of these variations or certain strategies people adopt to bring in incorrect pronunciations. Some of us tend to convert t and r sounds to what we refer to as retroflex variants. What happens here is the tip of the tongue touches the hard palate, that is almost in the middle, instead of touching the teeth ridge, that is, your tip of the tongue actually made a longer journey, longer distance it covered, and went behind the alveolar ridge, whereas it should actually stay with the teeth ridge, just behind your upper front teeth. And what happens as a result is your t, d, l, n, and so on get converted into harder sounds. For instance, when you want to have a word like tell, you can, if you stress on both t as well as l, it becomes tell. You don't have to bring out the hard sound there. You just have to say t and l. It's as simple as that. Similarly, if you have a word like lorry, you bring in more drubbing or more focus onto r. What will happen is larry. Again, a distortion out there. An interesting sound substitution which most of us Indians tend to do. In fact, you can spot one right out there where instead of s, I put in a z, vice versa, instead of vice versa. We tend to get confused or we substitute one for the other. A j sound can be used instead of z sound. So, you hear most of the Indians would say, and especially Telugu speakers of English would say, instead of zero, they would say zero. This is simpler and easier because it goes back to our own sounds in Telugu language. Watch out next time you want to say zero or zebra or zoo. Because if you want to say Jew, people won't know whether you're calling out for a dog or whether you're referring to a place where animals are kept. Similarly, z sound sometimes gets substituted with j sound. For instance, you're talking about an individual. You say Raju, but you make it as Razu. So watch out, friends, and be careful. We talked about this earlier when we were discussing consonant sounds. And we also looked at this when we brought out the w and v distinction. You have a lot of examples out here. White becomes white. Wine becomes wine. In fact, both are English words. Wine is talking about, wine in fact is brought from the grapevine. Went becomes went. Water becomes water, and so on. There is also a replacement of sh and j with z and j. Why does this happen? This happens because most of our Indian languages do not have these sounds, as I mentioned in the lesson on consonant sounds. Treasure, for instance, becomes treasure. Measure becomes measure. Pressure becomes pressure. We talk about pressure cookers and not pressure cookers. What a world of difference it makes. Doubling of consonant sounds is another problem we observe. Drilling becomes drilling instead of drilling. Another major problem which is observed across states like Bihar, Orissa, Bengal, and so on is consonant clusters pronunciation. School, for instance, becomes iskul or uskul or sakul, and so on. And the again, we talked about it earlier. We double it up and this can create confusion. Damsels, for instance, can be heard by native English speakers as damsels, which means beautiful girls. And we tend to add this g to the sound So ringing becomes ringing. a few more examples for you how we tend to bring in the verb consonant clusters together. Like l, m, n becomes l, m, n. So button becomes button, meter becomes meter, and so on. We also tend to bring in monophthongs instead of diphthongs. So day becomes day. Coats becomes coat. Well, friends, this brings us to the end of the lesson, and I have a few suggestions to help us learn to speak English better. You can use tools like talking dictionaries, which are available in the market today, Cambridge Advanced Learners Dictionary or Oxford Talking Dictionary. It's fairly simple. You just have to install them or get one of those, put it into your computer, either in college, school, or at home if you have one of those computers, and click on, just plug in any word you want out there, and you can listen to it, its pronunciation, and you can repeat after that, and you don't have to worry about, do I have it right? So, and they're also very cost competitive. You don't have to worry about the pricing. That's the use of technology, friends. Make use of it. And I would like to bring to your attention, start listening to news instead of watching news on television. While you're having your breakfast in the morning or in the evenings before you go to bed, just tune into news. But please do not watch the newsreader. I know they look wonderful, but for your purpose, it's more important to concentrate on how they pronounce English. And I'm sure you enjoy your Walkmans and Discmans and so on. We'll try and listen to some of these wonderful, catchy English songs, and you'll be able to bring in your sensibility and sensitivity to English sounds. Thank you all. Hope you all enjoyed this. Have great fun articulating English sounds. All the best for everyone. Bye-bye.